So my name is Francesca O'Neill. I am a junior barrister at 1 Chancery Lane, and I specialise in professional and clinical negligence and some parts of personal injury law, mostly relating to questions about local authority liability. But in the main, I'm a general civil practitioner. Well, I'm actually reaching the end of my second term, which means that I will have been on the Bar Council for 6 years. And I originally stood as a very, very junior barrister just after securing tenancy and having undergone really quite a difficult pupillage experience. And my main aim was to bring the voices of, very recently qualified barristers to the Bar Council and to advocate on their behalf. And sort of slightly lofty ambition was to prevent other very junior barristers, particular other very junior women, from experiencing some of the things that I had to undergo as a pupil and very junior barrister. And to an extent, it's a very difficult profession to do anything substantive in terms of change, and the Bar Council is really the only way I thought of doing that. I mean, overwhelmingly positive, I think. Yes, there is an element of time commitment, which can be difficult, particularly if you're working and you've got young children. But the rules have now been softened slightly so that it's more possible for those of us with caring responsibilities to play an active role. And I feel like I've made a really positive contribution on a few perhaps quite niche areas, but particularly in the last year, working on the remote hearing working group, working in the Bar Council modernisation group, working on the women's retention panel, putting in, for example, a submission to the consultation on new sanctions guidance for barristers guilty of sexual misconduct. Those are things that I feel have been really important to me personally and important for the profession as a whole. And I'm really pleased that I was able to make a contribution to those. And then I think most importantly in the last year, it's been the fact that I was on the Bar Council leadership program, which was the inaugural year of the program. And of course, everything had to be online and it was all a bit more difficult than had originally been anticipated. But I thought it was a really useful exploration of some of the equality and diversity issues facing the bar, which is still so overwhelmingly white and male, particularly at the more senior level. And I think that's a really big problem for the profession and one that needs urgent attention. And so by doing all of those various things, I feel like I was able to at least contribute to steering things in the right direction. Do it. I mean, the worst that can happen is that you don't get elected, but there's no shame in that because competition is quite tough, particularly as I understand it for the more junior ranks of elected members. So if you don't get on, then try again. But if you're thinking about doing it, then I would say absolutely do it. You get to meet lots of very interesting people, lots of barristers who you might not have the opportunity to meet in other circumstances, people that work in other areas of law, so you might not ever come across them professionally. So it's great from a networking point of view. And it's also great just for the experience of of understanding and addressing the issues that affect the profession as a whole. It's very easy in this universe, I think, to be intensely siloed, to only know the barristers who you work directly with, to only know people that you work with in chambers that are colleagues. Um, I think that's a big, actually, I think that's a big problem for the profession, that we lose so much professional development by not seeing how other people do things. So I would utterly commend it for that reason alone. And then, of course, you get to speak to and see really important figures working at the kind of crease of the law, the legal world, and the political world. So quite often at Saturday morning bar council meetings, the Attorney General or the Solicitor General will attend and will answer questions. And I found that particularly important and interesting when the Brexit legislation was going through, when there were important questions about, for example, the vilification of the judiciary. I was able to ask the Attorney General at that time a question about it. Those of you watching this video will no doubt recall the Enemies of the People headline in the Daily Mail. I found that really problematic. So did many other members of the Bar Council. And you must remember that the Bar Council speaks for the profession. It's effectively the profession's union. It's a professional body. The consultation responses that we provide and that the committees work on are taken seriously by government. And so it's really a very important role. And that responsibility and that involvement is an experience that I think is incredibly important and enriching for barristers, particularly junior barristers, who often aren't heard as vocally as perhaps they ought to be.